Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Committee on Water and Land on its hearing agenda of April 11th. Today is Thursday at 1 p.m. And just to remind those, particularly on Zoom, we have been relocated from our room 229 to 016. And for those of you who don't know the difference, is we're preparing all the conference rooms upstairs for the conference. And so those rooms cannot be changed. So there is this room, which some of my colleagues like it, but I don't because it's too cold. If you've been in here before, you'll understand. Nonetheless, just some housekeeping announcements. For the testifiers, we ask that you stand on your written testimony or limit your oral testimony to 1 minute, but this committee has been very kind, and since we have a small agenda, that members, you may ask questions, and our testifiers maybe feel comfortable and speak what you want to speak on, but we will also say when the limit is up. The content of this hearing can be found on the legislature's website. The live video stream and archive of the hearing is on the Senate's YouTube channel. A decision-making will occur today after we hear from all the testifiers. Members, thank you as well. We do have a committee of 5, so we'll probably have some members coming in and out as well. So let's proceed. We do have a quorum anyway as to start. We will proceed with GM 728, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, GM Neil Hannes, for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. And for those of you, including those on Zoom, we did have a correction sent by the governor today with regards to the expiration date from June 30th, 2028 to June 30th, 2027. And this is only for GM 728 that's on the agenda today. Okay, Mr. Hanna sent, we have communications in support of GM 728. Noi Wilson, who has sent communication in support. Do you want to come and speak or stand on your testimony?
Yes, I'll stand on my testimony in support of
Okay, thank you for being here. Lemomi Khan sends communication in support. And Rich Matsuda stand in support as well. And I don't think, IT, anyone else on Zoom?
No, Chair. No,
For 78? Okay, thank you. Mr. Hanna, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Moving along.
Okay.
Hello, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for having me here and considering the nomination. I'll stand on the written testimony and the resume that's been provided. I think it's more important for me to be here to answer your questions and clarify anything that you may wish to know.
Well, I personally am happy, and I'm sure our committee as well. You have been on CWRM, on the Commission of Water Resource Management, and I'm happy that the governor has seen fit to continue to have your volunteerism personality. We would probably add, don't you have enough work to do? But we're happy that you continue to do your role in providing your expertise and your knowledge. So with that said, members, you do have his communications and his questions. So how do you feel with the difference that you've already experienced in CWRM? You've had you've served the terms, and you're coming onto the Oversight Authority?
Well, let me be clear about the workload and bandwidth. My CWERN term will end June 30th.
Yes.
It's my second term, so I'll term off. And I've found that to be really rewarding service. Water, obviously, olekuvai, water is the basis of life, and to go into that kuleana of protecting and assuring the future availability of something that's so important was meaningful work. And the work seemed to be kind of congested a little bit with contested case hearings and so forth. So part of the attitude and agenda that we had going through it was to kind of clear this stuff up and give more certainty and to really enact the principles of the Constitution and the Water Code. As we end that, you see the value of the service, that you can make a difference. And not me individually, but commissions like this can make a difference in really kind of creating some rules and regulations and process and engagement that'll help resolve issues that have been longstanding. And most importantly, improve the care that we offer the lands and resources that give us life. In Hawaiian worldview, I mean, we deify that which is life-giving, all the natural elements, and there is no more dominant and powerful natural element than Maumake itself. And so to have that opportunity to kind of be part of its care is a privilege and honor.
Okay. And members, just for your information, and I'm sure you already know that, Mr. Hanna has been appointed to one of several of the members, and his position is with regards to an individual with AINA, the Land Resource Management expertise and specific experience with Hawaiian-based management. So that's the role that he'll be filling as well. And the his predecessor was Kamana Beamer. And so Mr. Beamer decided there's too much workload, but has decided to withdraw from being nominated again. But I'm sure there would have been no question with Kamana's role. He's done pretty well as
He's a
well.
close colleague and just wonderful man.
Members, any questions? Yeah? Okay, we will be taking, let's see, do you want to do this one? Yeah, yeah, no. I think we'll clear him now instead of waiting until all our members of the other commissions. Okay, let's do it and get, where's my pen? Okay, all right. Chair's recommendation on GM 728, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, GM Neil Hannas, for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Members, any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Advise
And this
consent.
is to advise and consent.
Okay. Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 728. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator McKelvey? Yes. Senator Favela is excused. Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Congratulations. Let's proceed then with the agenda items on GM 628. And this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission, GM Miles Miyasato, for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. With regards to 698, we have communications. Land Use Commission.
Thank you, Chair Dan Hardaker, the Officer for Land Use Commission, is on my written testimony.
Thank you. Okay, County of Hawaii, Office of the Mayor, Mitch Roth, sends communication in support, as well as Hawaii Councilwoman Ashley Kirkowitz in support, Sando Kern, the prosecutor of Hawaii County, and AFL-CIO, let's see, The state AFL-CIO, Randy Pereira, sends communication in support. Operating Engineers Local 3 sends communication in support as well. Hawai'i Nurses Association, Joanne Iwohi, Riley Smith, William Moore. 6 to 8. I think that's it for now. Okay, Mr. Miyasato. Aloha. Good to see you again, and thank you for offering yourself after retirement. Great to have people like you who can find a time to do the people's work.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Senator. I've submitted my resume and the questionnaire, so if you have any further questions.
Okay, members, any questions? You're as well, Miles. I think, Dan, I don't think it's, your members are all, his position is what? Representing? At large. Okay, all right, thank you for the confirmation. Well, thank you as well.
Yes.
The Big Island ties, yes. Okay, thank you, you can have a seat.
Okay, Chair, just for
Miles.
the record, I think you mentioned 628, 698, yeah, just.
698.
Yeah.
You're all numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's proceed then to GM 699. And this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Land Use Commission, GM Ken Hayashida, for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And this is for 699. Okay, Land Use Commission. Dan.
Thank you, Chair. We stand on our written testimony and support.
Okay, County of Hawaii, Office of the Mayor also sends communication in support, as well as, and they're all in support. Zendo Kern, Michael Izua, AFL-CIO, Randy Pereira, General Contractors Association, Ryan Sakuda, Operating Engineers Local 3, Akinaka and Associates, I believe it's Ken Kawahara, and for the Operating Engineers, it's Anna Tui Sosopo, RCOH, Leonard Govea, Anaya, Evan Owe, Greg Kodama, Brennan Morioka, Riley Smith, Arnold Martinez, Holly Amano on behalf of Arnold, William Moore, Joy Kimura K. Piltz, and I assume that's Karen Piltz, Kainani Kraut. Okay, anyone else wishes to speak on 699? Otherwise, we have our nominee, Ken Hayashida.
Aloha.
Aloha to you.
Hello, Senators. I did submit my resume and the questionnaire, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Yes, I think at the time that you were up in my office, and you did out of courtesy as well and understanding that your role with RCOH, apparently we have gotten confirmation that he has to resign from RCOH.
Correct, yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, I'll
Okay,
submit
we
my-
also checked further today if the conflict, if we needed to move the hearing for him later. However, it's okay for us, for this committee to advise and consent, but the delay would be when it gets to the floor. So we can confirm him, and we got that clear today. that we can do the first step. And so hopefully you can start writing your letter to resign.
We'll get that to you.
Yes, because we're going to be very busy starting Monday for 2 weeks going into conference. And I'm sure Dan is wanting to have his members confirmed as well and get to work. And so I'm sure that the process, have you notified
Yeah,
RCUH?
he's one of my
Yeah.
testifiers, yeah, so.
Okay.
He said yes, to send me a letter.
All right, okay, now, the difference as well, you're on the Land Use Commission. That's pretty much a little heavy duty as well, as we all know in government, and when you're making decisions with regards to all the things that land use approves or disapproves, or look at developments with economic endeavors statewide. And so hopefully in your role, and weren't you also on the city committee, the commission?
Planning commission.
Planning commission, yes.
My
yes.
term ends June 30th, and I will write them also a letter and resign.
Okay, that's city, so I don't think
I'm okay.
there's a conflict. I think you're okay.
Okay.
Right? I think our rules are only that you can't sit on any two state commissions and state boards. Okay, all right. Any questions of Mr. Hayashida? Okay, it's a generation. I knew his dad well in my role as a former Hawaii County Planning Commissioner and as mayor. And the dad was a Big Island boy, but not Ken. He grew up in this big city. But thanks again for allowing to continue to serve the people of Hawaii.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's proceed then with GM. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That's fine. We can clear our deck and do the, yes, sure. Yes. Okay. With regards to, for the Committee on Water and Land, we'll be making decisions on GM 698 and GM 699, all in one motion. The chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. Any discussion? Senator McKelvey.
I'll be supporting both the nominations. I think for me, it's just a fundamental philosophy as far as the LUC commissioners go. And I think the commitment, at least that I got, was that the need to preserve our lifestyle in Hawaii, the need to keep the country, and try to refocus efforts where the infrastructure and development is, to your point about economics. So I feel that having that value system, that basis, aligns with the policy, I think, of many of my constituents. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and in times where we are today with the wildfires and how we look at development for your island and Lahaina, I think actually it kind of works with our agenda too, when you look at developments at HCDA and with LUC. So hopefully, yeah. So thank you. All right. Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent. Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 698 and GM 699 of the 3 members present on water and land. Any no votes? Any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, your recommendations are adopted.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. Good luck. Okay, the committee is continuing on its GM Day, GM 695, and this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii County Community Development Authority, GM Michael China, for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And he fills the position representing the Kaka'ako District for GM 695. Executive Director, Greg Nakamoto, HCDA.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Senator McKelvey. My testimony in strong support has been filed, so I just want to say a few words. I'm in strong support of Mr. China's nomination. We met with Mr. China, my staff and I, and what struck me was his really commitment to, as a business owner and a person who works in the district, he's attuned to what's going on in the district, and he really wants to make a difference, and he can really provide a lot of input to the decisions at hand that come before the Kaka'ako board. So I strongly support his nomination, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now that we have you, Greg, it's rather interesting that HCDA, in the many years that I've served in the county and the state as well, it's rather interesting where you see an authority that has several, I would say not several positions, but many different positions representing districts. And that's kind of interesting.
It started with Kaka'ako and then the CDA model.
Exactly.
Applied to the Hui, to the Windward Side, and to the idea of being community planning, especially when you have, redevelopment districts. Is this expert?
Yeah, and it's rather interesting during our interviews, I kind of reminded them again, just to remind them that, the role is this district, but that I'm happy that they had a chance to communicate and talk to you, sit down and get to understand as well, but also that allowing them to sit on an agenda item if there's a full agenda, but there's only one item, maybe perhaps only on like Kaka'ako, but that they're able to sit down and hear the rest of the agenda items and participate, but not being allowed to vote.
Yeah, and I'm certainly appreciative, Senator McKelvey, for the support that we've got from the legislature. So the fact that we started out with Kaka'ako, then the legislature added other districts, I think is, again, I'm thankful for the legislature for the support of HCDA and the fact that we can do things outside the districts now and help in Hilo, help on Maui as well. So thank you very much.
Well, kind of interesting because when I first got here, I was chair of water land and HCDA was also under my purview. And we only had HCDA only in the Kaka'ako district.
I think a lot of misnomers, a lot of people think that when they start another district's created that they're under.
Exactly.
But they're not, they're attached. And this is the spine.
Yeah, but and that time, that's when the state was again being given, I think, Kalailoa, when they looked at that period, what we're gonna do with the lands at Kalailoa. So now it's kind of interesting how the agency has gotten much larger. However, though, that appreciate the work that HCDA is doing. And again, hopefully that we can include that going into my district in Hilo. And
Yes.
hopefully we can all work and make sure that our Banyan Drive Peninsula gets going after all these years.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And I want to shout out to my staff, the whole staff, not just the ones that are here, but the entire 23 of us who really do a lot of the work. So a shout out to them as well, Senator.
So how long have you been with the HCDA?
I started out first in 2008, 2009.
So how many employees was then?
Much less, I think.
Okay, so you're up to what now?
23, including
Okay.
me. Yeah, but
All right,
I'll tell you what, we're all full, no vacancies.
okay, good.
But I don't want to make this about me because you want to hear from Mr.
Exactly.
China. Sorry. I
Exactly,
apologize.
however, this is for us, for our committee, this is the first pass with HCDA. So we need to get to know the executive directors.
Okay,
Okay.
I know them pretty well.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Michael China.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, okay, testifying for Mr. China as well on GM 695. We do have Mitch Imanaka has sent communication in support as well, and from Michael Iosua as well. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Senator McKelvey. I've submitted my resume and the questionnaire, so open to any questions.
Yeah, and Michael is representing the small business area, and/or, this was kind of interesting, Craig, come. You know why? Because it's interesting because the part that he represents, according to the authority 206E, representing owner of a small business or officer or director of a nonprofit organization in the Kaka'ako district. How did we end up, it says, or Ko'olaupoko district? Is that an error or?
Yeah, there might be an error. It should be error. That should be the Kaka'ako district only. Maybe that Ko'olaupoko refers to another district. So
That's
maybe it's
what
an
I thought.
artifact that we have to correct. But
I think we
he
need-
does
so-
represent the Kaka'ako district, and he fills a vacancy that was created with the resignation of business. So
It makes sense if we make the changes, and perhaps next year we look at an HRS, I guess.
I think we have some work to do for the off session to do some changes to our
Good,
section.
okay,
It'll
we'll
work.
all get together,
Look forward to
yeah.
working with you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Because, and for those of you out there in Zoom land as well, Ko'olaupoko is on the other side of the island. So, you know, we need to have his representation on the small business, I think is important for HCD as well. Okay. So any questions? Senator McKelvey.
Just because, you know, this model came up in discussions in previous bills and the media linked it back to Kaka'ako. And one of the things that was discussed was affordable workforce rentals in the area. And that it somehow may have not aligned with the, do you see, I mean, how do you see the role of you and the HCDA in trying to facilitate that kind of need? I mean, a small business owner, workforce housing in that area, affordable would be key, right? So just your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think it would be key. I mean, I think from me personally being, you know, the community member, and obviously kind of feet on the ground. So understanding, you know, how that can be represented in the community, and the rest, I think the rest of the island or the rest of the families that want to live or work in a similar type of community and kind of building that. So I do think that is important, but that's, you know, something I would get together with my board members on at future meetings and, you know, see both sides, weigh both sides, and understand what we want to do going forward.
Do you think as development occurs in there, there should be more of an emphasis in that the workforce housing or the affordable quotient actually be located within that area and not elsewhere? I remember there's discussion about this in the past, so I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that.
That part I'm not really sure as far as what other areas, you know, may or may not be involved. But I know, yeah, obviously that it's been developed, you know, pretty well already in Kaka'ako. But as far as other districts are concerned, I'm not sure what that might involve.
I think
Craig.
Senator, let me jump in a little bit. So I remember the discussions that we had on another bill and this perception that Kaka'ako is sort of this place where there's only sort of these high-rise condominiums with, you know, market price units that are, you know, and there is some of that. But Kaka'ako is really more than that. It's about the community that we're trying to build there. For example, we have at least 2 senior housing, you know, rental buildings in the district. We have 2 rental projects at least 2 rental projects. One is Art Space Lofts, which is aimed at, you know, a certain AMI, I think it's 30 or 60% AMI or lower, and that's targeted at artists, for artists. And then we have Nohona Hale on Cook Street that was done by a New York developer, Bronx Pro. So we have those. We also have, you know, in the district, we have JABSOM, we have Cancer Research Center. You know, we're trying to build this community. We also have in the district, we have Kupuna Shed, which is a men's shed. So the men's shed is there, which provides a kind of a gathering place for not just older men, but men and women of all ages, where they can get together as colleagues and be collegial. And the board has tasked me, and I've tasked my staff with finding innovative ways to develop more affordable housing in the district. Not just the ones that are developed by or produced by the developers like Howard Hughes or Kamehameha Schools, but on our own, try to build more affordable housing. So we're looking at acquiring land for that purpose, and it's something the board has tasked me to do, and I'm committed to doing it. So that
Would adaptive reuse be kind of that strategy too?
adaptive reuse would be a strategy to try to use existing buildings and then try to build, or just build, without adaptive use, but that's a
That
strategy.
would be a boon for the small businesses, have that kind of adaptive reuse and mixed use and repair, so.
Definitely. And I really look forward to, getting the input of Mr. China and having his input into what kind of housing goes into the district. But we are actively trying to find innovative ways to develop more housing in the district on our own and through developers, and not just the reserved housing that's produced by Kamehameha Schools or Howard Hughes. Yeah, I know and it is what it is. That's what our requirement is, but we're looking at other proactive ways to do that. And I have the right staff to do it too, so thank you.
Something comes to mind on the district itself. Where, Keawe Street is part of yours?
Yes.
HCDA?
Yes.
Okay, beyond that, the Gold Bond Building?
Just to make sure rumor doesn't start, Keawe Street in Honolulu.
Yeah.
We have Keawe Street in Hilo as well. So Gold Bond Building, that historical building right
Pump house.
next to?
Pump-
What is that?
The
A
historic,
pump house.
historic.
Yes, I know it's,
yeah.
so far they say it's historic.
That's the
but-
historic pump station.
Okay, so that's under your jurisdiction?
It is.
What's the plans? Or is there any plans going forward? Can we do anything with it or cannot?
So that is the old historic pump house, the sewer pump house. And there is a tenant in that building. It's the Pacific Gateway Center, rents that from us. And it's called the Na Kupuna Makamai Center. And they provide services for seniors. And they've been a long-term tenant, lessee of ours.
But entry and everything with that building is in the backside.
It's from Keawe Street, right?
Yeah.
Not from Ala Moana, it's from, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can we kind of beautify the frontage?
Okay, I can,
Yeah, I think the landscaping, so, and people have asked me too if it's an abandoned place, so just to share that perhaps
yeah,
I think.
I know there's a chain link fence that fronts Ala Moana Boulevard, so yeah, we will ask the lessees too.
And the area is becoming so nice and enjoyable, and then, of course, we understand historic buildings, but I think we can take care of some good planning and designs later, and I guess we need to, if you have to ask us for CIPs, let's work on it in the interim as well.
Just since you brought that up, and I don't want this
So
to
you
be
said-
my confirmation hearing, but
No, but because, Craig, this is the last time we're gonna see you,
Not
because
the
we're
last-
gonna be gone.
Not-
No,
not-
it's gonna be gone in 2 weeks. We're gonna be too busy, so we're gonna catch you
okay,
now.
but okay, so that's fair enough. But let me put in a plug. In the Senate draft of the budget right now, there is an appropriation to fix the roof at the Na Kupuna Makamai Center. There's some leaking issues, so if I can get your support of that,
course.
you brought it up. I didn't want to.
Yes, yes,
I didn't want to make a pitch now in Mr. Cheetah's hearing, but
Fine with me.
No, and it's a discussion, and they have to know what's going on at the legislature anyway, the budget for this year.
yes. So anyway, there's an
And me
appropriation
being
in
on
there.
the money committee.
That's exactly why I asked it.
And as a former hotelier, I look at clean places, well landscaped, nice, attractive places. So I'm always on it. Exactly.
With dark and
Yeah.
some incident happened.
Yep. But
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a pitch for it since you brought it up.
Sure.
Okay.
And you
Thank you.
understand, I think.
I do.
So interesting. Pacific Gateway is private nonprofit, right? Okay.
501c3, yep.
Kupuna side is under the city or us?
Puna side, which?
You said they also use There's
Oh,
another
so the-
section
so-
of the
so-
building
The Kupuna Shed is a 501c3 organization.
that's separate from the Pacific Gate.
Correct.
Okay.
They used to have space at DOT Harbor, which ended in the end of December. We, through my staff, helped them find a place a temporary space in
okay.
Kakako. And since you're asking again, I'm gonna make a pitch for this. There's some money in the SD1 to plan, design, and construct a facility for Kupuna Shed. The reason why it's important for me is that
But not there.
not there,
Yeah.
another place in Kakako, because oftentimes when you have an urban environment like with high rises, you don't have places where people can tinker, build things and make things. And this Kupuna Shed offers men and women of all ages a place to, build something, tinker with something. They fix bikes that they give to the homeless. They also repair wooden canoes and all that. So again, I'm just making a pitch. There's some money for that community facility in Kakako.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna make
But
a-
not specifically on that property.
Not on the Pacific Gateway. Not on Pacific
But
Gateway.
see, the discussion is good for the newcomers. We're
Yes.
confirming today.
Yes.
Where we stand and what we'd like to see. Senator
Well,
McKelvey.
no, I'm just a curious afterthought, I mean, there's been discussions about OHA being given big tracts of Kaka'ako. Are any of these plans with the Kapuna Shed and others, is that contingency in there, or is that just a separate thing altogether?
So it's a good question, Senator McKelvey. Last session, all the discussion around the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and Makai was really about their efforts to get rid of the ban on residential development in Makai. And I think my conversation is all about, providing strong comments against removing the ban. This session, I think OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, is more looking forward, and they're looking to develop something in Kaka'ako Makai. In fact, and our conversations with them are more collaborative in that they're looking at ways to develop in Kaka'ako Makai, and we're looking at ways to collaborate and develop something with them on their parcels. So it's,
Within the design standards of.
of course, and within the allowable uses.
And we're happy that you're communicating with them as well, because there are parts of the Makai section that I really love. If you looked at their plans, the promenade area, oh my God, I said, that's another area that can be spruced up, absent of the discussions for the certain building on the Makai side. But they have some really good plans,
But I think the design standard, that's the integrity of the CEA is the authority for the area, it's kind of important. So the fact that they're working along those lines is good to hear.
That's,
And they're working with us, and
That's
they're
great.
working with Ryan Tam, our Planning and Development Director.
and Ryan is here.
Ryan is here.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah. And,
Tell you, sir, close all the time.
and so we're working with them, and we're working collaboratively with Office on Hawaiian Affairs to find ways that we can, collaborate on development projects that are going to benefit the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and the people, all of the state.
Okay.
So-
Okay, all right, good. I guess we're gonna have a busy post session with HCDA.
And so this won't be the last time you'll see me.
No, until
next
end
2
of the
weeks,
month. Yeah.
correct.
Let's get our guys confirmed and our women as well. Okay, any more questions on Mr. Tina, GM 695?
I just want to say, I'm glad to see younger people stepping up and getting involved at the table is really inspiring.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm really excited about your nomination.
Oh, thank
for
you.
serving.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And you do know this is his first of serving on a board or
Yeah.
commission. So we're happy to have him
Thank
as
you.
well.
It's a common theme of the year. Young people are getting to the table and they're being a part of the decision making. And that's the meaningful change. It's a frustration. So thank you.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
So we also shared, so where would you put me then? Can you imagine, I was the planning commission chair. We appreciate it, and I'm so happy you brought the staff. Okay, let's proceed then to GM 696. And this is submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Community Development Authority. And this is for Kalailoa District, GM Mikiala Lindstone, and for term to expire June 30th, 2025. Okay. Also sending communications for 696. Well, Mr. Craig again.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Senator McKelvey. My written testimony in strong support is submitted for Mikiala Lidstone. She fulfills a vacant business nonprofit position. Let me just say, one thing about Mikiala. I got to know Mikiala indirectly because for a time after I joined HCDA recently, I attended the Makakilo Neighborhood Board meetings, of which Mikiala was a member. And I really got to know her as a person that has really deep roots in the Kalailoa community, knows a lot of people, is an educator, and sometimes on a board with many voices, sometimes calm and not so calm. Mikiala was always a voice of calmness and reason, and always brought her own experience as a cultural practitioner and other things to the board. And I really appreciated, Mikiala's, calm leadership and her comments on the board. She was always well respected for her thoughts on the neighborhood board. So she will be definitely a great addition to the board and provide great input to the decisions that we'll be making for that district in the upcoming year or two.
One question that I had, and it's not to the Mikiala. During her term expires in June 25th, 2025. Is she replacing somebody?
Correct.
So what happened to the position before?
So correct. I think both Ms. Lidstone and also Mr. Chino are replacing positions that were previously held. So what I believe is that their term is shorter because they're fulfilling the remaining term of their previous member.
And those expired this year, or was it last year's expiration?
Next year, I believe, next year.
No, their term expires, but what happened to the ones that
Oh,
are
I'm sorry.
existing?
I'm sorry. So the previous seat in Kalailoa was held by Mr. Lewis, Kuhio Lewis, Council for Native Hawaiian
Yes.
Advancement, and he resigned. I believe it was because he was really getting busy with his duties at Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement.
But his term would have expired when?
2025.
2025.
Correct.
But he resigned when?
I think it was about
Last year?
last year.
Oh,
I think it
okay,
was
okay,
about a year
so
ago.
why I'm asking the question is because some of those that didn't meet the expiration, the GMs, because the governor has a certain date, like this year was the 28th of March was his deadline. And so the similar, I think, happened when the expiration, when that person, I guess, either expired the 2023 or left, but the vacancy didn't occur until after the session, probably.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we've had
Yeah.
situations like that.
Yeah.
So, okay,
So I think Mr. China's term also is a shorter one because he is going to fulfill the remaining term of the previous business member in Kakako.
and that person,
That person, I think, resigned because of business
Okay.
reasons. So he was just busy with his, business and all that.
well, I'm glad we're confirming this year
Yes.
rather than wait, and then you'll end up with quorum problems as well.
That is
Okay.
true. That is
All
true.
right.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we were on 696, and we do have communications we received from Shirley Swinney as well as Eliza Talbot. Okay, is there anyone else wishes to speak on 696? Okay, Good afternoon, and thank you so much for making the trip here.
Aloha Chair, aloha Vice Chair, Senator. I submitted my resume and I'm happy to answer any questions myself or even Craig. Super happy to answer more questions.
Well, you've already been involved with the district and issues before HCDA as well, as was mentioned. And so this is nothing that's going to delay anything with the progress of your work. So we appreciate that. Any questions? Okay. Good
Thank
to
you.
have you on board legally, and you can testify against yourself on the board.
Yes.
So you'll be part of them.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
Thank you. Right, let's proceed then with GM 697, and this is submitting for confirmation, consideration and confirmation to the Hawai'i Community Development Authority. This is GM Glenn Yamasaki Kimura for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. And this is filling Pulihunui District and your island, Senator McKelvey. We received communications in support. Mr. Greg Nakamoto.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Senator McKelvey. Of course, I speak in strong support of his nomination. I want to just add one thing. You know, the Pulihunui District Community Development District is one of our newest districts. And since it was established in 2022, we've been looking for community members. And I'm so grateful to be able to find Glenn to be able to serve. He serves in the business, fills the business seat. We're still looking for sort of the so-called resident member. One very significant thing is as we start on the development in Pulihunui, Central Maui, which is the development of infrastructure that will support the development by Department of Land and Natural Resources, DHHL, and also, I think, as you know, Senator McKelvey, the possible relocation of the Maui jail from its current location to the district, lands within the district, and also possibly the development of a judiciary complex very close to there. As we start on that process and start the community engagement process, I think Glenn's, input and knowledge of the community, his contacts and connections in the community will be so helpful for us to make sure that we speak to the right people, we connect with the right people and get the kind of input we need as we start to plan. And Senator, I just want to let you know that when we got that money to do the infrastructure development, we immediately started to plan for the procurement for the plan, design, build for that work. And that money will lapse at the June 30th, 2024, if not encumbered. And we've gone out with the procurement, it's closed, and we've selected a design builder already. And so we're well on the way to contracting and encumbering that money.
Is there a timetable going to be pushed back because of the now there's all this work potentially because of the fire? See a delay in that?
Yeah, it could, but I haven't heard that there's going to be any pushback or delay because of, the capacity of construction workers and all that. I can say this now because we've already awarded, but we have Hawaiian Dredging is going to be the lead, contractor, and then there'll be Munekio and Haraga as a planning. And we really wanted to have a Maui-based planning organization like Munekio and Haraga, and then they have sub-consultants that are doing the cultural aspects of it, like DTL, and I think one of the first things we'll do when Glenn comes on the board is that we will, be convening a board meeting and then laying out the development timetable, the rough timetable, when we're going to start community engagement, when we're going to start the planning. So I'm looking forward to getting the input from Glenn.
So with that said, with the adjoining lands, with DHHL, and who was the other one? DLNR. So on the bidding that went out, is it a design for the entire the 2 parcels and looking at the infrastructure
Yeah.
for all of the area?
So there's several parcels that make up the district. The DHL lands are not within the district boundaries. They're slightly outside the
That's
district
what I
boundaries.
thought
Yeah,
when we
they-
approved this last
Yeah,
year.
they're slightly outside the district, but when we look at the infrastructure development for the district, we necessarily have to speak with all the stakeholders there, like DHHL, DLNR, Judiciary, Department of Corrections and Rehab to get, and the county as well, to kind of get their thoughts on it, and also to understand what are their planned developments, so we can size the infrastructure and develop the infrastructure accordingly. So we will be talking with DHHL. We actually already have been speaking with DHHL, DLNR as well.
Okay, so if you're including as well future plans for judiciary, so the question is, what happens if you have a developer who wants to do affordable housing or a housing project within the areas that you can control? And I would think the earliest commitment you can do is you can make decisions for the DLNR lands, because you know that that can't be sold, right?
Yeah.
It's lands that you can develop, but I think it would be faster. How would you look into it if you have an area that somebody can already develop?
Well, our sort of task when the district was created was a little bit of a narrower one than our other districts. What we were tasked to do was primarily to build infrastructure, so horizontal development versus vertical. And so our task is going to be to develop the infrastructure after doing the planning. And then the vertical part, what DLNR does on their property, what DHHL does on their property, I think is going to be up to them. As it stands right now, Senator, we're not going to kind of promulgate rules like we did for Kakak or Kalailua. We're going to try to do everything we need to do, the infrastructure that is, try to do it under county zoning and entitlements. It just seems, every time
That's
we.
been the big blowout, than that, because
Yeah.
the whole idea was that growth there would violate the general plan.
Yeah, and ours is just going to be infrastructure. So I think we just need to come out with a good collaborative community consultation plan, working with DCR, working with DHHL and DLNR, and of course, judiciary and county, and just so that people know what we're doing, how we're going to do it, and who's going to benefit from it.
So it's going to take a while then.
Critically important.
Yeah,
It's going to take a while.
it's going to take a few
For the-
years.
For
Yeah,
the infrastructure, yeah?
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yes, Senator Elafante.
Yeah, thank you, Director Nakamoto. Could you be able to provide, I know Senator McKelvey is probably more familiar with this than I, but like a district map? I was attempting to look through the website and I couldn't find anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll provide all of the members of the committee with a district map, and
I think for all, I think would be helpful for the committee, for all the districts.
Sure.
Heia, Kalaeloa,
Yeah.
Kakako.
Yep, can
And
do.
this one as well.
And the
Yeah.
stadium too.
Yes.
Why don't we kind of do that? We can set up any time for an informational briefing.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
We'll work with
Can
staff.
do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
That would be great.
Thank you, Vice
I
Chair.
know we did see the layout when we approved the project
Yes,
last year and provided, I think, the
yes,
monies that you needed.
yes. Thank you, Senator
Okay.
McKelvey, for your questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, members. Okay, for GM 697, Glenn Kimura, we have communications as well from R. Clay Sutherland, attorney at law, Kent Smith from KRS Development, Thomas Saka, or Seka, Mark Unemori, and Ken Ota. Okay, anyone else wishes to speak on GM 697? Otherwise, welcome, Mr. Glenn Kimura.
I go by Glenn Yamasaki, but thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Inoue, Vice Chair Elefante, Senator McKelvey, good afternoon. I did submit a resume and a questionnaire along with the cover letter, and if there's any questions or clarifications, be happy to address them at this time.
well, I think your area is going to be the baby of all, because that's going to be really interesting. I find that interesting to start fresh.
It's a
looking
clean
at lands
slate,
that's not
yes,
developed
yes.
yet, and you're going to be part of it. Any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Senator
Not really
McAlpey.
questions, but one of the things we try to push this year, I guess, is to try to, that area is, the district is located in areas with ag lands around.
Correct.
And such, and try to maybe perhaps, there's been a need, especially from the fires of Lahaina, for additional composting, biochar, quarantine facilities inspection. I mean, as a board member, do you foresee the board looking at other uses that have now arisen for the state may need this kind of geographical infrastructure and such? And what are, I guess, kind of, things that you see insofar as the general view of the area with the new Maui jail and the Judiciary Center? Any thoughts on that and how you envision that to look like?
Yeah, I think to Senator Inoue point, it's really a clean slate. It's fallow lands. As part of the South Maui Community Plan that just got adopted last year, it kind of has it designated as light industrial. So that actually affords many, many opportunities, whether it be quarantine stations or whatever. But I like Craig's idea of that kupuna shelter, I think it's called, or?
Oh, yeah, for Kakao.
Yeah,
Just Kaka'ako.
yeah, but that's something also that I think would do well in Maui, because I think that organization or that mission is really geared towards elderly gentlemen who've lost a spouse and have skills that can be levered or used in other ways. And it's a real good focus point that might be able to be used in Polihunui. But given that it's light industrial, it just opens a tremendous amount of opportunities. I know DHHL has a ton of agricultural lands around that area that could be fully used. The big issue, of course, is water.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think part of Polihunui is to generate R1 water from a wastewater facility that could also help with both irrigation needs and maybe agricultural needs outside
Well,
of
those kinds
food.
of things too, with this, you're working with the county, because you need to make sure county bus has a transportation system, many of the people, MEO, for instance, is able to
Correct.
provide, because it is out in the middle of nowhere. But
Yeah.
the big pressure point there has been the issue of the general plan of housing located there, which takes away the separation of the communities potentially by sprawl.
Yeah.
There's a resident member, but there's no residents down there.
Correct.
It's a light industrial zone. Do you think we should look at this district more as what it is that kind of use and not have a resident member? Or do you think that any talk of, within the district itself, of housing should be done in conjunction with the county community plan?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, and I'm new to the board for HCDA, but within the M1 zoning, it does allow for residential use as long as it's not out of compliance with whatever that industrial use is. I think you'd have to go back to the South Maui Community Plan and see how residential would fit in that plan, because like, to your point, it is out in no man's land. However, again, to your point, one of the disconnects in South Maui is there, in my opinion, there's no really connectivity among the neighborhoods. And if there's a way that you can somehow connect Polihunui to the greater North Kihei, I think that'd be great.
Well,
Yeah.
that's an alternate route in and out. And of course, that goes with North-South Connector Road
Correct,
and all of
yeah.
them. But there is a concern from the community. You
Oh, yeah.
saw it with the proposals in past mayoral administrations that you're gonna have all this explosion of affordable housing in that area. Now it's creating this connection, this corridor now between the two areas instead of being separation and such. And so, do you think that, but to your point, M1, offer some housing, do you think that there could be some potential for on-site housing, say for a judiciary center and for the jail itself? Would that be the kind of housing perhaps that could be done in that area? Because it's directly related to the workforce of the facilities being developed.
Well, I guess, in my opinion, I guess it could. I'm not sure if that's within the purview of the district or the authority, but, yeah.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think if there's going to be workforce housing on DLNR land, I think that's something that DLNR has to look at and decide what they want to do. It's not a bad idea to have workforce housing close by where people work, but I think I'm going to.
Well, I'm not advocating for that.
Yeah,
I'm
I just
saying you're
gonna-
building a new facility out in the middle of the island,
Yeah.
and people who are working there, going Maui jail now, you're in Wailuku. Now you have to go all the way
Yeah.
to, well, the wraparound services and everything else.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So.
yeah. Yep, and to your point about water, one of the things identified is that we are going to need to kind of, look at water, and water is a critical part of any development. So what we've done is to submit a request to Senator Hirono's office for some congressionally directed spending money, $3 million to get planning and design money to plan and design R1 wastewater facility
I
in the
was just going to
district.
ask you what
Exactly.
you have to develop the wastewater management.
Where, because
As well,
it has to
right?
be developed in conjunction with a new wastewater treatment plant. But if we can get R1 water in that district for irrigation and for fire suppression purposes, that's going to reduce the demand on potable water, which is important. And so that request is in with Senator Hirono's office now, and we're hoping we can get that, Senator McKelvey.
Very supportive of R1 expansion.
Yeah.
It's critical.
And I think DLNR also has some money that they're looking to procure the services of a hydrologist to do a test well on their lands to determine, the source of any kind of, I think, brackish water that can be used as well. So,
Okay, well, I'm really glad to hear that you're working with the county too, because that's a lot of the concerns with the district formation itself and the issues revolve with the interplay between, and the county has to be an integral part of this development plan, right, to be able to create
absolutely, Senator. I think the early calls that I've had with county planning folks is that, at least as of right now, the intent is to try to build infrastructure, our part to build infrastructure under using county zoning entitlements.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, we'll get Hulunui
Good
going
to see you over there across the Humane Society.
and we can
That's right.
get my district Banyan Drive going as well. So you guys will probably get a lot of work on your hands. I think staff is ready to move forward once
you.
we confirm all of you
I'll see
and
you.
make sure we have you guys on the road, as they say. Okay. Anything, members, any more questions? Otherwise, we do have a 2:15 Waterland DLNR agenda at 2:15. Let's proceed with decision-making on the rest of our 1 o'clock agenda. So with that said, let's see, we only got HCDA. Okay, Chair's recommendation on advice and consent for GM 695, GM 696, and GM 697 to advise and consent. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to advise and consent on GM 695, GM 696, GM 697. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang is excused. Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Favela is excused. Madam Chair, your recommendations are adopted.
Okay, congratulations. Let's go to work. And this concludes the 1 o'clock Water and Land agenda. Good afternoon. The Committee on Water and Land is on its hearing notice on Thursday, April 11th at 2:15. Just a reminder, for all testifiers, we ask that you stand on your written testimony or limit your oral testimony to a minute. The content of this hearing can be found on the legislature's website. The live video stream and archive of the hearing is on the Senate's YouTube channel. Decision-making will occur after we hear from the testifiers. Okay, members, let's proceed with, we do have several matter of fact. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 submerged easement matters before the committee. We'll proceed with HCR 9, and this is authorizing the issuance of a perpetual non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Heiva, Ko'olaupoko, Oahu for the existing drain and for use, repair, and maintenance of the existing improvements constructed thereon. With regards to HCR 9, DLNR, I believe, is on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, we do have communications from DLNR, Rebecca Anderson, and Ian Hirokawa in support of HCR 9. Anyone wishing to speak to HCR 9? Okay, otherwise, we will be moving on to HCR 10, House Draft 2, and this is authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Kaneohe Ko'olaupoko, Oahu for the existing boat ramp and concrete wall and for use, repair, and maintenance of the existing improvements constructed thereon. There's testimony in support. IT still, DLNR are they waiting on Zoom?
They're not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Otherwise, there's communication in support as well as from Mike Elhoff, an individual, and Kyle Kodama. Okay, is there anyone wishing to speak to HCR 10, House Draft 2? Hearing none, we'll proceed with HCR 11, House Draft 2. And this is authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Waialaiki, Honolulu, Oahu for the existing revetment and for use, repair, and maintenance of the existing improvements constructed thereon. Okay, Sense communication in support is DLNR. Is there anyone else wishes to speak to HCR 11, House Draft 2? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with HCR 12, House Draft 2, authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Kaneohe Ko'olaupoko, Oahu for the existing concrete boat ramp and for use, repair, and maintenance of the existing improvement constructed thereon. Testifying in support of HCR 12 is DLNR, Sense Communication in support. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to HCR 12, House Draft 2? Hearing none, we'll proceed with HCR 13, House Draft 2. And this is authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Hau'ula Ko'olauloa, Oahu for the existing rip-rap revetment, ramp, and rock groin and for use, repair, and maintenance of the existing improvements constructed thereon. Testifying in support is DLNR. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to?
Chair, we have the LNR online.
Oh, okay. All right, DLNR, are you on?
Yes, Chair.
HCR 13. We've already concluded HCR 12, HCR 11, HCR 10, and HCR 9. And that's all in support from you folks, right?
Yes, that's correct, Chair. And my apologies for being
No
to the
problem at
meeting
all.
late, and my compliments for getting through the agenda so quickly.
Sure, no problem at all. We understood that you will eventually be with us. Members, anyone else speaking to HCR 13, House Draft 2? Okay, hearing none, let's proceed to HCR 14, House Draft 2. And this is authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Ma'alaya Beach Lots, Waikapu, Wailuku, Maui for the existing seawall and for use and repair and maintenance of the existing improvements constructed thereon. Okay, testifying in support, HCR 14, House Draft 2, DLNR.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair and member of the committee. We stand at DLNR, stand in support of our written testimony.
Okay, thank you. Also testifying is Milovai Ma'alea H.O. Tansy Vince. You're on Zoom. Proceed. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha to you, and thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and committee members for hearing us. And we did provide written testimony. We do stand on that testimony and here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Tansy. Members, any questions since she's on the line?
This is a standalone, so right, for one conveyance, or is there several in there?
This is for several. Ma'alea, Waikapu, Wailuku.
Is that the same one?
Tansy?
Yeah, it's just one, right? It's not, yeah,
Our-
okay, yeah, it's a misnomer. I mean, not a misnomer, but it's a, okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, okay. Any further discussions? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with HCR 22, House Draft 2. 1 second, sorry. HCR 14, my bad, they have on Zoom, DLNR for HCR 14. We did you did.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, then let me continue. I'm sorry. We have testifying for HCR 14 as well is the Ma'alaya Village Association, all in support, Kevin Cookman, Freddie Hernandez, Larry Olson, Stephen Oren, Jason Inez, and that's it for HCR 14. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on HCR 14 House Draft 2? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, we'll proceed with HCR 22 House Draft 2. And this authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Waikiki, Honolulu, Oahu for construction, use, repair, and maintenance of steps. DLNR.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee. DLNR stands in our written testimony in support.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on HCR 22 House Draft 2? Come up. Thank you. Aloha.
Hello, Chair. Inouye, Vice Chair Elefante, and Senator McKelvey. My name is Ivan Louis Kwan. I represent the landowner, HDHDH Ventures LLC, and we stand in strong support of the resolution. And in addition, really want to thank you, Senator, and your staff for working so hard on this matter. We really appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Quick questions.
Yes, Senator McKelvey.
Is this for stairs or is it for a seawall and stairs?
Just the stairs.
Just stairs?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
They were there before? Or-
Yes.
Okay, so you're just replacing what was taken out?
Yes. And the DLNR suggested instead of going straight out, going on the side. But otherwise, it's the footprint is just about the same, if not smaller.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on HCR 22? Hearing none, let's go into decision-making with regards to the agenda item at 2:15. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendation on decision-making for these submerged lands. Chair's recommendation is to pass HCR 9, HCR 10, HCR 11, HCR 12, HCR 13, and HCR 14, all in one motion. Chair's recommendation is to pass these measures as is.
If you're going to take it in one motion, I'm probably gonna have to go with reservations. There's a couple on here that I have reservations on, but in order to recognize, I'll just go WR since it's one motion for now.
No, that's all right. We can go.
Can we go separately?
Sure,
Yeah, 'cause
sure.
not all are created
Sure,
equal. Okay.
yeah, we can do that, Senator. Okay, with regards to then, the chair is changing its recommendation to take these resolutions individually. Chair's recommendation on HCR 9 is to pass as is. Any discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended HCR 9. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator McKelvey.
Let's see, on this one here.
That's
Aye,
Oahu.
yes. No, it's the drain, so yes.
Okay.
Okay. Senator Favela is excused. Madam Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. HCR 10, House Draft 2, Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure as is. Any discussions?
This is HCR 10,
HCR 10,
reservations on this one.
okay. Chair's recommendation to pass as is. Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, of the 4 members present, Chair's recommendation is to vote, is to pass unamended for HCR 10. Of the 4 members present, noting the reservations of Senator McKelvey. Any no votes? Any other votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. HCR 11, House Draft 2, recommendation of the committee is to pass this measure as is. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay. Noting, okay, of the 4 members present on Water and Land, on HCR 11 to pass unamended, any no votes, and noting the reservations of Senator McKelvey, Madam Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. HCR 12, House Draft 2, Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure as is. Any discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye on HCR 12.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended HCR 12. Of the 4 members present, any no votes, any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. HCR 13, House Draft 2, Chair's recommendation to pass this measure as is. Any discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended HCR 13. Of the members present, any no votes, any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. HCR 14, House Draft 2, Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure as is. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, of the members present, HCR 14 to pass unamended, any no votes, any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on HCR 22, House Draft 2, is to pass with amendments to adopt technical and non-substantive amendments. And members, just for your information, the House concurrent resolution, the notice to Governor's Office was omitted, and so we need to add the technical and non-substantive amendment on this measure. Any discussion? Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments HCR 22. Of the 4 members present, any no votes, any votes with reservations? Hearing none, Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. This concludes then the Committee on Water and Land on its 2:15 agenda. Thank you, members, and thank you, folks.